The 1990s in Britain weren't just Britpop and football. They were also a decade of unforgettable food. From school dinners to family freezers, these dishes shaped a generation. If you remember even one of them, hit subscribe, and let's dive into 15 iconic British foods of the 90s. They were cheap, cheerful, and often a little unhealthy, but that was part of their charm. And for many of us, just one bite today can bring back a flood of childhood memories. No food screams 90s school dinner quite like turkey Twizzlers. Long, spiraled strips of processed turkey glistening with grease. They were loved by kids and dreaded by parents. Served in countless school canteens, they were crunchy at the edges, soft in the middle, and absolutely packed with salty flavor that children couldn't get enough of. They later became controversial, condemned for their lack of nutrition, but that only added to their legend. For 90s kids, a tray with turkey Twizzlers, chips, and beans was the highlight of the week. Decades later, their return to supermarket shelves proved one thing. No matter the criticism, turkey Twizzlers will forever hold a place in Britain's nostalgic food history. Few things summed up the fun side of 90s dinners better than McCain's potato Smileys. Golden, round, and always grinning back at you, they were a freezer staple that kids adored. Crispy on the outside, soft and fluffy inside, they turned an ordinary tea into something playful. Parents loved them too, because they were quick to cook and guaranteed empty plates. Usually paired with fish fingers or beans, Smileys weren't just food, they were a treat that made dinner feel less serious. Ask any 90s kid and they'll tell you, nothing tasted quite like those happy potato faces straight from the oven. Even today, whenever they reappear on shelves, they bring back a wave of nostalgia. They weren't gourmet, but they were pure childhood joy on a plate. Bright orange breadcrumbs, a piping hot filling, and a guarantee of burning your tongue. Findus crispy pancakes were a true 90s classic. Stuffed with everything from minced beef to gooey cheese and ham, they were cheap, cheerful, and lived in almost every family freezer. Kids loved the crunch, parents loved the convenience, and no one cared that the inside was molten lava that always needed a few minutes to cool. They were the kind of food you ate in front of the TV on a school night, the very definition of comfort in a cardboard box. Ask anyone who grew up in the 90s, and chances are they'll have a story about waiting impatiently for those golden pancakes to come out of the oven. They weren't refined, but they were unforgettable. And for many, nothing says 90s dinner quite like them. If you were a school kid in the 1990s, nothing in your lunchbox felt cooler than Dairylea Lunchables. Neatly packed crackers, thin slices of ham, and those unmistakable cheese squares gave kids the power to build their own little sandwiches. It wasn't gourmet by any stretch, but it felt fun, different, and a bit special compared to the usual packed lunches. Parents liked them for the convenience, but for kids, they were a lunchtime status symbol. Having Lunchables in your box meant you were ahead of the playground snack game. The ritual of stacking them up, trying to make the tallest cracker tower, or eating them in strange combinations was half the fun. They were salty, cheesy, and far from healthy, but no 90s kid cared. They were freedom in plastic trays. Even today, just the sight of them on shelves brings back the taste of childhood in an instant. A timeless British classic, but in the 1990s, beans on toast took on its own personality. Heinz baked beans poured over thick white bread, sometimes topped with grated cheese or a splash of Worcestershire sauce, made for the ultimate quick meal. It was cheap, filling, and always ready in minutes. The perfect answer for after-school hunger or a late-night bite. Every family had their own twist. Some buttered the toast until it dripped. Others let the beans soak in until the bread went soft, while a few sprinkled crisps on top for extra crunch. It was food that didn't pretend to be fancy, but everyone loved it because it was comforting and reliable. For 90s kids, the smell of beans heating on the hob was a signal that dinner was nearly ready. Even today, beans on toast carries that nostalgia, simple, humble, and unmistakably British. Few foods were as versatile in the 1990s as the humble potato waffle. Golden, crispy squares with that iconic crisscross pattern, they could be grilled, fried, or even popped in the toaster, a true freezer hero. Whether eaten as part of a full meal or on their own with a dollop of ketchup, potato waffles became a dinner-time staple in households up and down the country. For kids, they were fun to eat, easy to cut, and always delicious. For parents, they were quick, cheap, and guaranteed clean plates at the table, often paired with fish fingers, beans, or even a fried egg on top. Potato waffles fit into almost any tea-time scenario. Their catchy TV jingle, their waffly versatile, summed it up perfectly, embedding them in the nation's memory. Even now, they remain a nostalgic bite of the 90s, a reminder of simple dinners and family evenings around the table. Number 90's dessert brings back memories quite like Angel Delight. Sold in colorful sachets, it was the instant pudding every kid begged for. Just add milk, whisk it up, and within minutes you had a bowl of sweet, fluffy mousse. Flavors like strawberry, chocolate, and butterscotch became legends in their own right, each with its loyal fan club. For parents, it was cheap, quick, and endlessly reliable. For kids, it was pure magic. The anticipation of waiting for it to set, then digging in with a spoon bigger than the bowl itself, was part of the ritual. Served on its own, or topped with sprinkles and a biscuit, Angel Delight wasn't just dessert, it was an event. Ask anyone who grew up in the 90s, and they'll tell you that first spoonful carried the taste of childhood joy, impossible to replicate today. The Arctic roll was a dessert that felt like pure magic in the 90s. A soft sponge cake wrapped around a cylinder of vanilla ice cream with a layer of jam in between. It was as simple as it was irresistible. Sliced into thick rings and placed on a plate, it looked like something far fancier than its supermarket price tag suggested. For families on a budget, it was the perfect way to serve dessert to a crowd without breaking the bank. Kids loved the combination of textures: cold ice cream, sticky jam, and soft sponge all in one bite. Parents loved that it could sit in the freezer for weeks, always ready to bring out for Sunday dinners, birthdays, or unexpected guests. It wasn't gourmet, but it didn't need to be. The Arctic roll was fun, cheerful, and endlessly nostalgic, a dessert that carried the taste of the 1990s in every slice. When Pop-Tarts hit British shelves in the 1990s, they felt like something straight out of an American TV show. Two thin pastry layers filled with jam or chocolate, often topped with colorful icing, they were designed to be popped in the toaster and eaten piping hot. The strawberry frosted flavor became an instant classic, though chocolate quickly earned its own cult following. For kids, they were the height of indulgence, sweet, fun, and a little rebellious, especially when eaten straight from the packet without toasting. Parents, on the other hand, worried about the sugar overload, but that only added to their forbidden charm. They weren't an everyday breakfast, but when they appeared in the cupboard, it felt like a special treat. Pop-Tarts brought a dose of American culture into British kitchens, and their bright, sugary appeal made them one of the most memorable snacks of the decade. If there was one snack that could be found everywhere in the 1990s, from school trips to lunchboxes to pub counters, it was mini Cheddars. These small, round biscuits packed a punchy cheddar flavor that was impossible to resist. Crispy, salty, and tangy, they were the kind of snack where one packet never felt enough, no matter how many you had. For kids, they were a break-time favorite, easy to share or not share at all with friends. For adults, they made the perfect partner to a pint down at the pub. Their crunchy texture and addictive cheese taste gave them an identity of their own, different from crisps, yet just as iconic. Mini Cheddars weren't just a snack, they were a flavor of the 90s, carrying with them the spirit of a decade when even the smallest things could feel big. Few school dinners in the 1990s were as beloved as jam Roly-Poly drowned in thick yellow custard. The pudding itself was simple, a hot sponge rolled with jam, sliced into generous portions, and served steaming on plastic trays in canteens up and down the country. For children, it was the highlight of the week, warm, sweet, and comforting in a way only school puddings could be. The real magic, though, was in the custard. Thick, sometimes lumpy, always poured until it flooded the plate, it turned every bite into nostalgia. Even if the jam was too sweet or the sponge a bit heavy, once the custard was on, no one complained. For many, just the smell of hot sponge and custard instantly brings back memories of school halls, clattering trays, and the chatter of friends. Jam Roly-Poly wasn't fine dining, but it was pure happiness on a plate. Number 90's dinner table was complete without a plate of fish fingers and oven chips. Bird's eye fish fingers were the undisputed champion. Golden, crispy on the outside, soft white fish inside, and always reliable straight from the freezer. Paired with thick cut chips, peas on the side, and a generous squirt of ketchup, it was the ultimate tea time classic for families across Britain. For kids, fish fingers were more than just food. They were comfort, simplicity, and a taste of home. Parents loved how quick and affordable they were, turning weeknight dinners into something that everyone could enjoy. Whether eaten around the table or in front of the telly, fish fingers and chips carried the warmth of everyday family life in the 1990s. It was a meal that didn't try to be fancy, but ended up being unforgettable, a true icon of British food culture. In the 1990s, Wagon Wheels were a playground legend. Bigger and messier than the modern versions, these chocolate-covered biscuits sandwiched gooey marshmallow and a thin layer of jam, creating a treat that was almost impossible to eat neatly. They were massive in kids' hands, often crumbling apart before you could finish them, but that only added to the fun. For school lunchboxes, finding a wagon wheel tucked inside was a moment of triumph. Some kids traded them, others guarded them fiercely, and everyone argued about whether they'd actually shrunk over the years. Their sticky sweetness and crumbly chocolate made them unforgettable, and even the mess they left on your fingers felt like part of the experience. Wagon wheels weren't just a snack, they were a rite of passage for 90s kids, etched into the memory of anyone who grew up with them. In the 1990s, spaghetti hoops were every bit as popular as beans, and many families treated them as the perfect quick tea. Poured straight from a tin onto hot buttered toast, the bright orange pasta rings were cheap, cheerful, and surprisingly comforting. For kids, the hoops were fun to eat, easy to scoop up, and somehow felt different enough from beans to make them special. Parents loved them for the same reasons: fast, filling, and guaranteed to keep hungry mouths happy after school. Sometimes cheese was grated on top, or ketchup added for extra tang, but most people were happy with the classic version straight from the tin. It wasn't fancy, but it didn't need to be. Spaghetti hoops on toast summed up the 90s perfectly. Simple food that turned into a warm, nostalgic memory for everyone who grew up with it. If there was one dessert that made any 90s family dinner feel like a celebration, it was Viennetta. Layers of soft, creamy vanilla ice cream stacked between delicate sheets of crisp chocolate gave it a look and a taste unlike anything else in the freezer aisle. It felt elegant, almost luxurious, yet it was affordable enough to be a treat that many families could enjoy. Viennetta wasn't just dessert, it was theater. The crack of the chocolate as the knife sliced through, the patterned layers revealed on the plate, and the way it melted in your mouth all added to the experience. For kids, it was magical. For parents, it was the ultimate way to elevate a Sunday dinner or Christmas table without spending much. Viennetta remains an icon, but in the 1990s, it was the crown jewel of frozen treats, a dessert that turned ordinary evenings into something unforgettable.